welcome to another Year 6 edition of Teach Time Maths. So today we're going to be looking at volume, specifically volumes of cubes and cuboids. So you should know from your 3D shape lessons in school that a cube is a shape, a 3D shape, where all of the sides are the same length. So I've drawn a shape here, which is not to scale, which means that it isn't drawn with the right numbers. But I'm saying that it's a cube with 5 centimetres on each side. If you measured it, it probably wouldn't be right because I haven't really worried too much about drawing it correctly because you can't measure it on the YouTube video there. So I'm going to explain how you can work out the volume of the shape. Now, when I say volume, what I mean is all of the space inside, how much that's worth. So if you were counting in cubes, you might say that I could fit 48 cubes inside this shape, or maybe if you were working with sand you could say I can fit 480 millilitres of sand in there. But we're going to be working in centimetres, but not just normal centimetres. When we say volume we do centimetres cubed, and for cubed we just have to put a 3 at the top. Like when we do area we do centimetres squared and we put a 2 at the top. This time it's cubed, so we put a 3 at the top of it. So the way we work out the volume of a shape is we do length times width times height. So first things first, we need to look at the length, the width and the height of our shape. So it's all been written out here for me. Now because it's a cube, all of these are going to be exactly the same size. Every single side of this cube will be the same size. I'm not going to get a random number thrown in there like a 3, because if I do have one of those, then it's not going to be a proper cube. It's not going to be a regular cube. So my length is 5, so I've written that already. And I need to times it by the width. Now I've broken it up here for you. So my first bit that I need to work out is 5 times 5. We should all know our 5 times table, so 5 times 5 I know is 25. Now comes the next part. I'm still timesing it because I still haven't times by my height yet. I've done the length times the width, that was 5 times 5, and that made 25. So now what I need to do is take that 25 and times it by 5. So 25 times 5 I know makes 125. Now I worked in centimetres, so I'm going to put that down here. And because it's the volume, I need to put cubed at the top, centimetres cubed. Now, that probably all went quite quickly, so I'm going to slow it down for the next one. I have another cube written here. Again, it's not to scale, so don't try measuring it. All I've got here though is 6 centimetres for the height. Now as I said earlier, because it's a cube, I know that all of the lengths are going to be the same side. So just because they've only given me the height doesn't mean that I then don't know that the width is going to be 6 centimetres and the length is going to be 6 centimetres. Because these are all a cube, we know that it's all the same size. So I do my length times my width. So length is 6, times it by the width is 6 again. So we should all know 6 are 36. Now, here comes the tricky part. We've got to do 36 times 6. So I'm going to let you pause the video here and work it out, and then we'll come back with the answer. Okay, so I don't mind if you had to use a calculator for that one. If you had this in a test, you would probably have to use a calculator, especially if it was up to 36 times 6. Unless you did a grid method. Now, I'm just going to show you a grid method just to recap in case you haven't done it before. So with a grid method, all I'm doing is splitting up my number into 30 and 6, putting my times here, and I'm timesing it by 6. So I know that 6 times 3 is 18. So I would write my 18 here, and then I'd add my 0 down. And I know that 6 are 36. And then all I've got to do here is just add my numbers together. So 180 add 36 is 216. So that's how I always work out the answers like this, especially if I don't have a calculator to hand. So I know that the volume of this shape is 216. I've been working in centimetres, so it's going to be centimetres cubed. Okay, so I have a question for you on the back. Maisie has a cube pencil pot. She measures the height as 10 centimetres. What is the volume of her cube? So I'm just going to help you here, and we're going to find out the length of each of our sides. So she measures the height as 10 centimetres. Okay, we've only been given one measurement. That's because up here it says Maisie has a cube pencil pot. So I'm just going to circle the word cube. So we know, because it's a cube, all of the shapes, all of the lengths rather, are going to be the same size. Okay, all of the sides are going to be the same. So my length is going to be 10. That means that my width is also going to be 10. And my height, again, is going to be 10. Right, pause the video now. See if you can work out this calculation. Remember, split it up. Just start with 10 times 10. And then times that by 10 again. Okay, off you go. Okay, perfect. So we're going to have a look at this together now. So let's try breaking it up. 10 times 10, should all know this, 10 times 10 is 100. And then we're just timesing it by 10 again. So all I'm doing is just adding another 0 to the end of this. So we know that it's going to be 1,000. So my answer up here is going to be 1,000 centimetres square, cubed rather. Centimetres cubed. And I'm just going to check that I'm doing it in the right measurement. I am, because it's centimetres up here, and I always need to remember to add my cubed there. So that's how to work out the volume of a cube. Now what about if it's a cuboid? So a cuboid looks a little bit like this. So only the pairs of sides are the same length in a cuboid. Like with a rectangle, not all of the lengths are going to be the same size. So I have one here, again it's not drawn to scale, but it's told me that the height is 7 centimetres, the width is 2 centimetres, and the length is 4 centimetres. So I'm still doing the same calculation, I'm still doing it the same way, but just with different numbers this time. So let's start with the length first. So that's 4 centimetres, so it's 4 times, I look for my width, that's 2. So my first thing I need to work out is 4 times 2. Well, I know that that's 8. And now I need to work out 8 times 7. Right, pause the video here, see if you can work out 8 times 7. Okay, so the way I remember my 8 times table, if you watched the video before now, you'll know I'm terrible with times tables. But I know that 8 8s are 64, so I can take away 1 8, so I know that 7 8s are 56. So I know that this cuboid has a total area, total volume rather, a total volume of 56 centimetres cubed. Okay, now I want you to have a go at this one on the bottom. I'll give you a hand in a minute, but I'll just read it through for you. So Archie wants to know the volume of his cereal box. The length is 10 centimetres, the width is 2 centimetres, and the height is 15 centimetres. What is the volume? So what I'm going to do with you first is I'm just going to go through and highlight all the different things. So the first one I'm going to look for is where it tells me what the length is. So if I read through the question again, I see the length is 10 centimetres. Okay, so I can write that down here again. So I know that my first bit is going to be 10. The next one that I'm going to look for is the width. So it says here the width is 2 centimetres. So I know that my next bit is going to be times by 2. And then my last one, I want to look for the height. So it says here, and the height is 15 centimetres. Yeah. So my last one, I'll be timesing whatever number that is by 15 to get the volume. Okay, I've written it here as a bit like an algebra formula. L times W times H equals V. All that means is what it's standing for. Length times the width times the height equals volume. So, first thing we need to do is 10 times 2. So we should all know 10 times 2 is 20. The next bit is where it gets a little bit trickier. 20 times 15. So again, I'm just going to use my grid method. So I'm going to split up. So it's 20, but I don't really have anything to come after 20. It's just a 0. So I'm just going to put the 0 there anyway to keep me on track. And then I've got 15. So it's 10 and a 5. Okay? So I know that 1 times 2 is 2, but then I've got 2 zeros to add on the end. I know that 2 times 5 is 10, and I've got another 0 to add on the end. 10 times nothing is nothing, and 5 times nothing is nothing. Anything times 0 is 0, remember. So all I'm doing is adding 200 and 100, which I know is 300. Oh. So 10 times 2 times 15 equals 300. I'm going to check in the question what unit of measurement I'm in, and I'm in centimetres, so it'll be centimetres cubed. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Now it's your chance. I'm going to put up some questions on Facebook for you to have a look through, and I want you to get used to doing cuboid and cube volumes. If you want, you could even go around your house and see if you can find any cubes or any cuboids, like cereal boxes or pencil pots or anything you've got lying around the house. Have a go at measuring them and see if you can work out the volume of those shapes. Maybe take a picture of it and write the volume of it next to it and then put it on the Facebook page. I'd love to see what kind of exploring you've managed to do. Have fun, everyone. Make sure to only spend about 10-15 minutes even just working on this one.